ncIMPACT is made possible by funding from Civic Federal Credit Union. ncIMPACT is a production of UNC-TV Public Media North Carolina in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government.
You're a mother.
I am.
First time?
Yes, ma'am.
How old?
5 months.
Girl, boy?
It's a little boy. His name's Arlo.
And what do you want Arlo to believe about this space as he grows up?
To love like his eyes were closed. Just to love. Because that's what this community has taught me. That's what I believe and how I think the world should grow to be a better place. And to revitalize downtowns, it's not just the buildings, it's the people. A sense of belonging to one another. Sometimes you're at home and you're a mom or you're a boss or you're somebody's employee and you forget who you are and you don't have a place to just be. That's what this is.
Education, jobs, health, all these issues affect you. Leaders from across the state, people just like you, are working to make things better. The question is, could you do this in your community as well? I'm Anita Brown-Graham. This is ncIMPACT. Kinston, North Carolina, a community in the eastern part of our state that's generating quite the buzz. It's a city that struggled after its tobacco and textile industries left town. But now, with acclaimed restaurants, vibrant art, and a rich culture, people from all over the country are visiting and moving to Kinston. Let's look at the impact of Kinston's work to change perceptions and bring life back into its economy.
In 2014, Kinston was being plagued with a lot of issues, particularly gun violence and poverty were two major things going on in 2014. Kinston was once the place, in my lifetime, in recent years, Kinston was once the place that, people didn't want to go, people wanted to get away from. But now Kinston is becoming a destination for people to come and visit and shop at, and people to come and move to.
Over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of people that have moved to Kinston from New York, DC, Washington State, Virginia, all sorts of places. They're intrigued to live in Kinston because of everything that's going on in downtown. One key aspect to a downtown revitalization would be having one special draw, one main attraction. For us, it's been kind of a combination of the Mother Earth Brewery and the Chef and the Farmer, especially with a Chef's Life TV show. That gave us national recognition where people were coming here to downtown Kinston for that purpose.
I'm definitely optimistic about the future of Kinston. My goal is for it to be a bustling, thriving small town that has enough to offer that my children might consider settling here.
We have the assets to work with, and those are valuable assets for downtown. And if you have a healthy downtown, it's healthy and vibrant, it's active, and that health then spreads out to the surrounding neighborhoods.
When I travel the world and travel to different places, I always want to come back home because home is what made me. It's what where community really is. And there's so much to love about Kinston. There's so many opportunities and so much potential here. I want to do whatever I can to tap into that potential.
Always great to be in downtown Kinston. And here I am with my friend, B.J. Murphy, former mayor of Kinston. Right. But I want you to talk to me a little bit about what this revitalization downtown means to the long-time Kinston resident.
Right, you need a healthy downtown for the entire community. Because when we think of our community, it's not just Kinston. I mean, you've got Ayden, Grifton, you got LaGrange, Pink Hill, Deep Run. I mean, there's so many other areas that are impacted by what happens here, this small economic hub. But if you have a healthy downtown, it feeds to the rest of the community. The rest of the community feeds off of what happens here. So, like, for example, our Queen Street, it used to be called the Magic Mile. So I started a company called Magic Mile Media. And it was this whole idea that it was just an economic epicenter of Eastern North Carolina. Well, that is now probably 40–50% vacant. And there is a big move of reinvesting in these buildings. And what you're seeing happening is block by block. To the point where Queen Street in a couple of years is going to be, instead of 4 lanes, it's going to be a 2-lane.
has been hard about the revitalization of downtown Kinston?
Though you should have seen, when I was our downtown manager 10, 15 years ago, we had the same challenges then as we do today. And that is, you've got a community, rural eastern North Carolina, and some of the poorest areas in our, not only state, but in our country when you look at the demographics. You know, some of those challenges are you've got the exact same infrastructure you did 30, 40 years ago when a lot of the magic was already happening then. So you've got the same infrastructure, but a dwindling population. So which means a smaller tax base, more or less. So you've got to keep up the same roads and the electric lines and all the other things that are the underpinning of what allows all these other things to happen with a smaller group of people who can pay for it. And so that's why the magic of the camaraderie and the complementary aspects of both the public and private sector coming together, so trying to figure this out. That's why that's so important, that everybody's kind of running on the same path, parallel path.
Give us one other really creative thing you did.
I would say that what's happening with the properties downtown. So the Housing Authority owns a lot of property in our community, but they didn't need all the vacant property they had. So basically the City of Kinston and the Housing Authority got together, swapped some land. So basically they had one big piece of land, the city had small pieces of parcels all around the community. We got together and we traded some of these parcels that were just kind of scattered for this one piece of property. Well, that one piece of property was then sold to Stephen Hill, who then put these huge tobacco barn facades that Thomas Sayre, who painted, who had that big oak mural in downtown Raleigh, he created these huge tobacco barn facades, which is a place for my family took a photo there. I mean, it's great from this open space now to this piece of artwork where people are driving to go see it. So it's also a place where when we have our barbecue festival, the Social House of Aka team had a big tent there, and they had band after band after band there. The Mills International, the farming equipment business here, they had kids on hay rides right in that area, which is an area that was not being used before. So it's little things like that over a period of time. The compound effect is having a really positive impact in our community.
Great to be with you.
Thank you, Nita.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Take a drive or walk around Kinston, and you'll notice the city is full of wonderful art. This rich art scene is thanks, in large part, to the Smart Kinston initiative. Let's look at the impact of how a program that pays artists to move to the area is helping them live, work, and promote the culture of Kinston.
This is when I started doing my notebooks and trying to impress my teachers. I used my art skills. I found out about Smart Kinston from a coworker on my first evening at Chef and the Farmer, and he said, "This is a great program and you got to apply for it." Smart Kinston is a program that welcomes artists from all over to Kinston. We get affordable rent. We also have opportunities to apply for grants, and it gives us the time and space to work on our art.
We put out a call for applications, and people apply from all over the country. And then we bring them in for a weekend to, like an orientation, see if they really want to come to Kinston, explain the SMART program. There are about 74 houses back here, but we only have about 50 so far, 55. There are 8 artists moving in here in the next month.
It seems like this arts community and this interest in art and Kinston as a place to come and see art is really gaining momentum.
Kinston is different from the metropolitan areas that I grew up in and that I've lived in recently. It's a small town, but I like it. There's no traffic. That's a benefit to begin with. But everybody knows everybody. And for me, I've moved to a town where I know nobody, but a year later, I have a village, and a village that's on my side. And I'm really grateful for them.
Hanging in downtown Kinston, loving every minute of it. Here to talk about downtowns is Tyler Mulligan. Tyler, it's said that you can tell a lot about the soul of a place by its downtown. What's the big fascination with downtowns these days?
I think downtowns bring energy to a community. A lot of people talk about downtowns as the living room of a community. And so if they can make their downtown sparkle and shine, it makes people think about their entire community as a special place.
But it doesn't just happen organically. We have seen any number of downtowns in North Carolina that were boarded up places 2 decades ago that now are full of vibrancy. How did that come to be?
It's actually a long process. First, having folks want to live downtown changes the dynamic for sure, but it's actually an intentional process that local governments have gone through to try to figure out how to make their downtowns work.
So I want to pause for a moment and focus on this. People want to live downtown. That's a relatively new phenomenon. I don't think 20 years ago there was nearly as much emphasis on residential areas downtown. Why is that changing? Why is that so much more important today?
I think that's always been a focus in downtowns, is there has to be eyes on the street living downtown. However, in North Carolina, we had, there was a period of decline in some of our rural areas where population decreased. And in fact, Kinston faced that exact same problem.
Absolutely.
There was population decrease not only from loss of jobs, but also from hurricanes that came through. And so space that used to be filled now wasn't as easy to fill. So there was vacancy and neglect downtown. But the idea now is folks are realizing it's a great place to live and great place to play. And so there's more attention down there. Making sure that there's residential near downtown or in downtown has become a focus.
So let me ask you the hard question. I said earlier, I can't imagine that there is a mayor anywhere watching us who's not thinking, yes, that's what I want to do. But not every downtown will succeed. What are the indicators that you look for to determine that there's enough there to build on?
Yeah, some of the key indicators of success tend to be, first of all, are there assets that you can build on? If you look at Kinston, you see that they built on some key retail, Chef and the Farmer, Mother Earth Brewery, some other businesses downtown. They also have this wonderful historic flair to their downtown that's attractive to folks. So if you have good historic bones in your downtown, find that, take advantage of that asset as well. Also, Kinston looked at its arts and cultural heritage. It has an incredible music history, and they're capitalizing on that as well, investing in the African American music trail, making sure they have an arts and culture district downtown. They're inviting artists to live downtown. So Kinston hit a whole lot of different, tactics in order to get at the assets that they have downtown.
We're lucky to have you as a resource for so many localities that are looking to revitalize their downtown. Tyler Mulligan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for inviting me, Anita.
Commercial real estate moves quickly in Kinston. Business owners and entrepreneurs are all trying to get in on the revitalization. Let's look at the impact of the City of Kinston's incentives to spur investment in the community.
Well, I'd always loved downtown because, I grew up walking these streets. You literally could come down here and buy everything you wanted, from cars at one end to hookers at the other end, at Sugar Hill. So, it was the place to be.
What you do to me?
You want them already cleaned and peeled?
We had the mass exodus in the late 60s, 70s, where all the stores downtown went out to the mall.
And that is $12.75.
Downtown was dying, and we didn't know what would get it back.
What kind of fish we looking for?
The late 80s to early 90s, that's when our tobacco left, our textiles were leaving. And then Kinston slowly started, I say dying, it was almost like a ghost town around here.
Some vision from Stephen Hill and Vivian Howard and Ben Knight, that kind of got it rolling, and it's helped all the existing businesses stay down here.
The revolving loan is funded by the North Carolina Rural Center, and so they chose 7 communities throughout the state, and Kinston was one of the communities that was selected for that. each community was able to take that and personalize it, including the loan fund. And so ours we call Kickstart Kinston.
Thank you.
I definitely am excited to be on the wave with everyone. Like, just, we're all so much trying to complement one another and not compete. So each business that comes, it is very much to complement our town.
I love it when they come in, because if they make eye contact with me, they're mine. And I'm going to tell them about Kinston, our history, and how great Kinston was at one time and how we are bringing it back.
Wow, wasn't that inspiring? I'm excited to be here with probably the person who knows the most about downtown revitalization in the entire state of North Carolina, Liz PARHAM. It feels to me that there's a new buzz around downtowns that feels much more exaggerated than it had been in the past. So what gives? Why is it so cool to be downtown again?
You know, it's partially a combination of baby boomers kind of returning to their downtown districts, but it's also millennials that want the same thing that the baby boomers do. They want that convenience of living close to town, walking to a restaurant, walking to a coffee shop, having those amenities, having the cultural amenities in downtown. There is definitely a resurgence around that. We've been doing this for nearly 40 years in North Carolina. But the growth is just getting more and more vibrant in every community that we work in.
Kinston makes great fanfare of their art community. How important is art and culture to creating a sense of a community living room downtown?
Yeah, you know, it's really important. And really, if you can not just say that we're going to have an economic development strategy around arts and culture, but dive in a little deeper. What kind of art? What kind of culture? You know, in Kinston, it's the African American Music Trail that's really been the basis for a number of their projects in the downtown district. And it helps to create that identity, that individuality for a community, and it's a drawing card.
So I want to talk about that a little bit, because one of the important things that we hope come from this ncIMPACT series is that people understand who does what to get things started. So who are these champions typically?
Well, you know, it's funny, we've had a Main Street Champions program in North Carolina, and we have nearly 1,000 designated champions around the state. Wow. But if you look at that aspect, those champions are governmental leaders and Main Street directors. They're local business owners and property owners. They're developers. They're anyone that really takes the leadership role in downtown development. And that's a little bit different in every community that's around in our programs. But the key is finding who is really going to make the effort, who's going to take the charge.
So a civic leader watching this says, yeah, if all these places you've named can develop their downtown, so can we. What's the first thing they ought to do even before they call you?
You know, we always tell communities when you're looking to start a downtown revitalization program, you really have to understand your product. So you have to understand kind of what the makeup of your downtown is. Is it one street or is it 8 streets? Mm-hmm. Is it 10 buildings or is it 150 buildings? Who owns those buildings? What kind of condition are you dealing with? And then we can come in and start delving into those assets and looking at the economic drivers and helping a community to identify economic development strategies that they can really move forward.
Liz, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed it.
We all share many of the same challenges in our communities, so why not share the solutions as well? Each and every one of us can make a difference. That's what having an impact is all about.
ncIMPACT is made possible by funding from Civic Federal Credit Union. ncIMPACT is a production of UNC-TV Public Media North Carolina in association with the University of North Carolina School of Government.